and welcome to another episode of G Talks, where we connect with voices that transform, motivate, and inspire. I'm your host, Eesha Ali, and today we have with us Mr. Agha, who is not just a Greenwich alumni, but also a seasoned professional with experience in aviation, media, and the most interesting part, he's part of a legacy that did not just witness the change in the landscape of Karachi, but also contributed to it, and a significant contribution. And I'm really looking forward to talk about it today. First of all, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Greenwich is not some place strange for me at all.
Mhm.
I've been connected to Greenwich since the time I joined back in 2007 or 6. So thank you for having me, and hoping for a lovely conversation.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you. And first thing first, let's go back to your time in Greenwich University. And what does it remind you of when you walked into the gate today? Does it like bring back any memories? Does it remind you of any fond memories that you have of the place?
Lucky me, I've experienced Greenwich in 2 episodes.
Mhm.
From 2006 to 2010,
Mhm.
and then from 15 to 17. So that's bachelor's in the first phase and then master's in the second one. And there has always been a lot of positive changes coming in to Greenwich when it comes to academics, curriculum, people, professors. And I believe that's the key element here is the vision that Madam sees, and then she implements it, and then everyone on board carries it forward to build something great. So Greenwich for me has always been an amazing place for learning, amazing place for interacting with my friends. Socially, now that we have an amazing paddle court,
Yeah.
sports for that matter, it brings back memories, of course. But then again, I would also say that I build new ones every time I visit Greenwich. So it's amazing.
That's wonderful. I think our paddle court, the Greenwich paddle court, has really brought back the alumni and developed that connection with them, and they really enjoy coming here and
Oh,
playing.
100%, 100%. I completely agree.
So it's a bit of like old memories with a new touch, where you get to play a trending sport as well.
I wish we had that when I was studying here.
Yeah.
I would have I would have taken 6 courses, honestly.
Okay, so you have an ample experience in aviation and media, and like I said, that you have a legacy that contributed to building this city. Let's talk about your experience in aviation and what you see, that how does higher education scenario in Pakistan, how does it contribute towards providing the right input for the industry, whether it's aviation, whether it's media? Is there a gap, or are we able to, as a higher education industry, are we able to provide the right input that's needed for the industry?
See, my experience in aviation might be very different to someone else's experience. So let me just narrate my experience and how I have formed an opinion about how to move forward. When it comes to, of course, education around it. I joined my first airline in 2011. Worked there in the commercial division for a good 6 years, then moved to another airline and worked there for another 5 years. Now, both these airlines were national flag carriers for a different country. Let me just be honest. Like, one was for Oman and the other for Turkey, and both national airlines, both flag bearers, which basically meant that the expectation was massive.
Yeah, so it comes with a lot of
It comes with a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations, a lot of
protocols that need to
see
be
why?
followed.
Because when a country hires you, who of course am not a part of that country, you have to feel added responsibilities over your shoulders to make sure that you are representing Pakistan, and then of course you're also representing the country of the airline itself.
Yeah.
It's added responsibility. So in the commercial aspect, I served a good 10, 11, 12 years, rose to success very early, remained at a higher position in Pakistan for a long time. And then, of course, when COVID hit, everyone went on a reset, and so did I. And I said goodbye to the professional career.
I think the whole world did. Even the nature did.
Exactly.
I remember
exactly.
Sea View that it never looked like that. There were plants growing all over the road, and the beach looked much cleaner.
Well,
Yeah.
COVID were beautiful times. I should not say that, but they were beautiful times for nature, for reset,
Yeah.
for people, for perceptions, for ideas, for everybody.
Nature restored in a way. Maybe it was.
Exactly.
I sometimes
exactly.
feel it was nature cleansing itself.
Completely
in a way.
agreed.
Yeah.
So I took a reset,
Mm.
and I left the industry, and I started working for my family.
Mm.
And when I started working for my family, the bug I thought would leave me, the aviation bug never left me, and I started something related to that industry. And I'm still doing that, alhamdulillah, successful, asking for prayers every day and being grateful.
So your family work is related to building, and that building, by building we mean that literally building Karachi. Tell us about that.
So our family started developing as early as 1910 in Karachi. So this, how it went about was my great-grandfather. I've been named after him, by the way.
Oh,
His name is Agha Ahmad Hussain. I am named Agha Ahmad Hussain.
Yeah.
My great-grandfather was the first Muslim architect of the subcontinent. He was also the first surveyor of Karachi. And he's the person behind the fantastic design of the Mohatta Palace.
Oh, wonderful.
Hindu Gymkhana, Karachi Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and various other buildings that you see in Soldier Bazaar and other parts of the city. So as a family, we've been land developers, builders, architects since 1910.
1910. Okay.
And then, of course, from my great-grandfather, it came down to my grandfather, then my father, and then, of course, myself and my brothers and my family, extended family as well. So we're all within the same industry. And with such landmark projects back in the day, which still is loved by people, are loved by people, it gives us a great sense of belonging in this city as contributors, as people who have actually been there to build Karachi, to give it a beautiful face, a structure, a culture, a name. And that is how we have operated since back then. So it's more than 100 years.
Since literally 1910.
Since...
Then literally these buildings are gems of Karachi. Like if you go towards Sadr, the actual way, like you said earlier, where the actual city is, they literally change the view. Sometimes when I get to go there on Sunday where there's no traffic and you look around and I just want to absorb it all. And I hope that these buildings stay for longer and they're preserved properly, because they actually reflect the true essence of the city and what all the city has seen, all the different phases that have been here in this city.
So by law, all these buildings come under the status of heritage.
Heritage buildings.
So they have to remain as it is or improved. Nobody can change the face of the building itself. So I am 100% sure that they'll remain like this for the coming generations. When you said they're actually landmarks of Karachi. They tell you where that area is or where a certain spot was, and around those buildings there are stories. There are stories, there are communities, there are societies, and that is how cultures form and evolve. You know.
So I think not just the like you said, they are the landmarks, and maybe they're also the language of the city. They actually talk to you. They tell you the story of the city, and all that it has seen over the time. These buildings, they're a reflection of the story of the city.
So imagine we call Karachi a multicultural center of Pakistan. So it's of course it's a metropolis. We've got multiple cultures, ethnicities. So this is not from now. Mohatta Palace was owned by a Marwari businessman. That's a different culture. We come from a different culture. As family, we come from a different culture. And of course, the people who were around it, built it, the businesses, the industries, all of them were from different parts of Pakistan, different parts of the subcontinent. And all of them blended together to create an amazing place in Karachi. And that is how Karachi has been since the beginning. Now, I know that the neighbors of Mohatta Palace are very old Parsis of Karachi.
Okay.
Very well known to me, very old Parsis of Karachi. And that's just reflecting on what you're saying. That's Karachi.
So diversity is very inherent to Karachi. It's nothing new for us. We have been living.
Normal.
Yeah, it's normal. It's very normal for us. Now that we have talked about Mohatta Palace and how your great grandfather was behind it, tell us more about it. Did you get to hear any stories about it? That how it was designed? Because we see some similarities in the Hindu Gymkhana building, Mohatta Palace, and the KCCI building as well. So did you get to hear any stories from your grandfather maybe about it, that how it was conceptualized, how how Mohatta Seth had the idea of building something here? What was the story behind it?
My sources for information in this aspect have been two. A, my family, which has always told us about how the family has been contributing towards Karachi, and how a Mughal art and architectural design element was brought in by my great-grandfather into the city. And of course, because it was also chosen by the owner of the building, by Shivratan Mohatta. That element of design and a person saying, yes, go and do it. That combination basically gave us this beautiful gift. More research on this has already been done by a lot of famous architects in Karachi, and a lot of literature is right now stored in the Sindh archives and other libraries, and it's always it's online as well. So that is one source. The second source is now a good friend of mine. His name is Satwik Mohatta. He is the great-grandson of Shivratan Mohatta.
Oh.
So the way I am the grandson over here, he's the grandson over there. And he had visited Pakistan, Karachi, I think a year or two ago. And we didn't know each other back then. And he was here, so I messaged him, would you like the Agha family and Mohatta family to meet after 100 years? And he was shocked. He said, of course, why not? And then we met, and then I got to know his side of the story. How his parents and his grandparents had told him about how his grandfather had built a palace here and a business there, and how flourished they were in Karachi, and so on and so forth. So the connection between Karachi and the rest of the world has been phenomenal. So Karachi being a seaport, of course, it was a trading ground. It was a route to the subcontinent for trade and mirchi and everything. Every country contributed, and that is how Karachi was built, and Karachi is right now. So no one person can say that it's me. No, it's you're a contributor and you've been an integral part of it. But Karachi is always a collection of people, collection of cultures, and that's what makes it beautiful. So Satwik and I, when we spoke about this particular project, he also said that back in the day, his grandparents used to travel in a seaplane, which used to land very close to the Mohatta Palace.
Oh.
See, we didn't know that.
No, absolutely no idea about it. Such a surprise listening to it.
So they used to travel in a seaplane. And that's amazing. How we can remember the past and look at it right now, and just standing in front of those buildings. I'm not saying that it's just Mohatta Palace. You stand in front of any building and you just imagine that if such stories resonate for this building, imagine the stories resonating with other buildings, and you just close your eyes and say, you know, what all must have gone around in that particular ecosystem at that time 100 years ago. You know, why don't we try to search and do it right now?
Sometimes I just look at these buildings and see, you know, like sometimes abandoned buildings, you know, you see these old houses in Clifton as well, and I look at them and think, you know, किसी ने क्या सोच के ये बनाया होगा, किस टाइम पे इसका पीक टाइम होगा, people, you know, would have lived here, यहाँ पे celebrations होती होंगी, कितनी life गुजरी होगी, and now all of it is gone, and these buildings stand there just alone as a representation of what it has seen in the past and what maybe it has suffered in the past and what it has witnessed in the past. So I think Mohatta Palace has a lot of stories. One being very interesting that in seaplane used to land.
Seaplane used to land. So, you know, it's not, what we're talking about right now is the beginning of that building. That building has held significance in every decade.
Definitely.
So when during partition it had a story. After partition it had a story. When Mohtarma Fatma Jinnah used to live there, it had a story. When it was turned into a government office building, it had a story. And then there were good 20 years when it was abandoned, completely abandoned. And I remember the dilapidated condition at that time. And then came in, I would say, a community of people who wanted to bring back the lost glory. You know, I know Sir Haroon was there, and a few more people under his vision were there, and they started restoring it and turning it into a museum. So it has not just been that start, it has been every decade which is significant, and still till now we've got KCCI building as an office. Hindu Gymkhana as Napa. You know, so we're honoring it. It's not that we've left it high and dry. We're honoring it. We're respecting it. We're using it. We're actually amplifying what it had been designed for, and we're telling the world about it.
Definitely.
You know, so it's beautiful, and it's not just these buildings associated to me, but many other buildings, even in Lahore, even in Islamabad, even
Lahore has its own story to tell.
Exactly.
So all these cities have their own stories to tell. You just can go and be lost in those stories, and you know, just imagine of those times how things were, and what it could have been and what it was. We're talking about culture, and we're talking about the representation of culture through these buildings. How important do you think culture is? And how important do you think it is for us to encourage our younger generation to connect with their culture, have roots in this land?
You know, you've asked something which is an integral part of my being. You know, being connected, being culturally there, being a representative of what you own, what you belong, where you belong, you know. So for future generations, it is massively important to make sure that they hold on to their roots. Don't let go of those roots. The second you let go of those roots, you will not have any representation. You'll be colorless. Right now, you have color. So back in the day, now we're talking about history, let me just connect it. Back in the day, when you would construct houses, you would have an angan. So that would be in the middle of the house, a common place where everybody would congregate and meet and, chill out and have fun. And then they would go back to their respective rooms. But the rooms will also have massive windows and khidkiyan and this and that. So everything was so connected within the family. And that is how communities were built. So the neighbors would know what the other person is doing and so on. And that's how a community was.
That was a very integral part of our community dynamic. So especially the angan that you said. How families would live together and how they would connect. Not everybody was just lost in their own world. There was one place where everybody would come and connect.
Exactly.
Which is now gone.
Now, so if there is a celebration going on in one house, the entire neighborhood would know at that time, there's a celebration. Let's just join in because everybody knew everybody.
They would become part of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now we've unfortunately locked ourselves behind four walls
Yeah.
without windows.
Hmm.
And we want to stay disconnected because our connection to the outside world has become social media.
Hmm.
Well, I still call myself a person from the old school school of thought, but currently, social media is your window outside and
Definitely.
you're invisible.
Yeah.
Well, that should change. It should be the opposite of this. Kids, even my kids, what I teach them is to go out, enjoy,
Interact with the real
interact with
world.
people,
Yeah.
travel.
Experience.
Yes.
Whether it's good or bad, you need to experience.
And
You
talk
can't
to
be stay
people.
shut.
You
Yeah.
have your guard up. I understand. Strangers are strangers, but at least you need to have the basic ethics, principles, cultures on how to talk, so that you interact, you get to know the person, you get to understand what they're saying, and they get to understand you.
You get to learn about so many different perspectives. With how you explained it, the social media is like a window into that virtual world that everybody is almost now stuck in. So
Yeah.
with that, you don't know other people's lived experiences, their perspectives. You don't know how world looks like to other people. You're just stuck in your own bubble.
अब कोई
So-
बहाने से चीनी मांगने नहीं आता.
Yeah.
Let's just say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You know,
हाँ.
पहले बहाने
ईद
से
पे ईद ही
आते थे.
मांगने नहीं आते.
नहीं आते
Yeah.
थे. आना चाहिए, आ
आना
जाएंगे.
चाहिए.
Let's
Yeah.
just say आ जाएंगे. Let's be hopeful.
Yeah, actually, I do see a very positive change through social media. That's a very contributing factor that I see with a lot of these bloggers and vloggers now connecting with the cultural heritage, covering it through through this art of storytelling. They're telling stories about it. They're telling their experiences about different cities. Let's say about, if we're talking about Pakistan, so about their experiences in different cities, and highlighting those areas that were not highlighted in the mainstream media for whatever reasons. So I think they have really revived that in a way. It has really
100%.
contributed.
I
So I think
completely agree.
that yeah, I agree with that. And how you are related to aviation industry, and you have interacted with so many people across the globe from so many different cultures, and you see that how important it is to build a brand for a country, and how tourism is important for that. So before we go towards winding up our today's conversation, I would like to have your opinion on that how tourism, especially that we have such heritage here, culture here, indigenous culture that can be highlighted in front of the world, where world doesn't just get to see but also get to learn how what lived experiences of people here are, and how important it is to project, and what role can tourism play in that, and as a whole how important it is for our country to connect with that.
When I started with Turkish Airlines, we had an agenda. And the agenda was for Turkey to build their tourism from Pakistan. I was a core part of these 5-6 people who, the reason why people are still going to Turkey is because of what we had done at that time. Turkey showed themselves to us as a very strong, vibrant, colorful, historically significant place. And it also gave us brand ambassadors of the similar sort. So the brand ambassadors that we know of Turkey are the ones we see on their dramas, their actors, their even their president for that matter, even the first lady for that matter. They're all brand ambassadors. When you talk about how we should do that in Pakistan for inbound tourism, or even when a Pakistani is going outside to any third country and representing Pakistan, we need to have an amazing set. Say, I would say 1,000 people, 1,000 brand ambassadors, 2,000 brand ambassadors who you think are perfect specimens for Pakistan, and let them guide the rest of the people. Now, why am I saying that we need good brand ambassadors? We need to represent Pakistan as people are honest, people are friendly, people are loving, people are hospitable. Unfortunately, what has recently happened is We are beggars. We would go and steal. We would overstay. This is not us, but this is what is highlighted. This is merely 0.5%, of the entire population traveling. So we need brand ambassadors. We need to then promote this. We need to promote this culture where we tell people that Pakistanis coming to your country, they're not coming alone. They're bringing in a lot of love, a lot of hospitality, a lot of desi mithai, a lot of mangoes, a lot of so many things. Take our culture there as they would want to accept it. Otherwise, doors you have the power to open the doors, you have the power to shut doors on yourself. Tourism is a very vast field. It is not something that I can dictate. It is an ecosystem that has to be built. In that ecosystem, we are involved, the government is involved, the travel agents are involved, the airlines are involved, the visa officers are involved, the passport authority is involved, everybody is involved. And now, for that matter, IT and AI and all and the digital spectrum is also involved. So we need to build that ecosystem. That ecosystem has still not been built, unfortunately. Will it be built? Yes, there are people I know working towards it. I would love to contribute towards those, but there are people working towards it. There are amazing youngsters who've recently graduated. They've taken the help of the digital resources and brought about massive changes in the industry. So we're there. Aviation itself needs a lot of education. To understand aviation, we also need to understand one big fact, that between now and the golden era of Pakistan's tourism, there is a gap of almost 30 to 35 years. We were once upon a time, back in the 60s, 70s, the best airline in the world. We were the midway of the world. We had people coming in from all over the world, having Karachi as their midway junction to proceed to other places. We had a hustling, bustling tourism culture. We had hotels and all. And then all of a sudden, all that stopped. There's a gap of 30 to 40 years where everything declined. And then very recently, we started growing back up again. That 30 to 40 years, understand that we did not churn any professional in terms of commercial aspect of aviation, commercial aspect of tourism, people investing in tourism. We didn't have all of that. Prior to that, we did, but now I see people investing. So expect a very, very, very positive change, profitable change in the next 10 to 20 years. The boat that we've missed, let it go. Let's look at the future. Are we taking the right steps? Yes, we're taking the right steps. Education, very important. Building ethical tourism, very important. Sustainable tourism, very important. Hotspots, tourism hotspots, don't make cities out of it. Just make a few hotspots, a few in Lahore. Lahore itself is a tourism hub. Islamabad, Peshawar, Faisalabad, Quetta, Multan, Sialkot, Karachi, Hyderabad, Sakhar, Nawabshah, Bhavalpur, Mohenjo-daro, Taxila, Gwadar, you name it, Kashmir, Mirpur, Hunza, all these are hotspots. And within those hotspots, we need an ecosystem. Once that's built, we'll be A-okay.
So I'm going to wind up with a few quick questions that maybe will inspire our listeners and our students.
I hope so.
So any book or any advice that changed your perspective or the way you looked at life?
Just be true to yourself. If you're judging others, just look at the mirror, judge yourself. If you take that action, then yes, go for it. Otherwise, don't even think others will give a thought towards you. Improve yourself, work on yourself, make sure you're the best example for anybody.
Any daily ritual that you can't live without, something that you have to do every day?
For the past 15 years, I've been waking up 5 a.m. in the morning, having my coffee at 5:30, starting my day early, and I recommend this to everybody. Allah ka wasta, start your day when the sun rises, sleep when the sun sets. In fact, take that as the advice.
Yeah. Wake up early and early morning coffee.
Of course, the sun wakes up. You wake up
You
with the
wake
sun.
up,
When the sun
yes.
sets, you sleep.
Synchronize
Of
with the
course, you
nature.
synchronize.
Yeah.
That's what my routine is. I can't live without it.
You have such a vast experience and you've experienced so much in life. But if we talk about your current season in life, what is that one word that will describe the current season in your life?
I think belief system. To be honest, if you have that firm belief in yourself,
Mhm.
that should be enough to electrify you
Mhm.
for whatever you want to do.
Mhm.
If you're running dry completely,
Mhm.
you will not be able to
Have
reach
faith,
anywhere.
have belief in
Have
your own
faith,
self.
yeah, in your own
first.
self.
Yeah.
If you have faith in your own self, that basically means that you've taken Allah with you, you've taken everything that is associated with you, you're strong in your heart, strong in your mind, and you have faith, and you know you can do it. आए ना आए आपके पास आपकी अचीवमेंट, वो आपके हाथ में नहीं है, आपका काम नहीं है, वो आपका काम मेहनत करना है, सिर्फ रिस्क देना या उसकी रिवॉर्ड देना वो आपका काम नहीं है. Just concentrate on what you have to do.
What's in your control?
What's in
Just
your
do
control,
that
you just do that.
and-
और दूसरों को नुकसान ना पहुंचाएं.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It was lovely.
It was a very insightful conversation. A very important topic that we touched upon was the importance of culture and how it connects to your roots and how significant it is in this globalized world. So, one thing that this globalized world cannot take you away from, one thing that cannot be replicated, or no other culture or no other country can take away from you, is your heritage and culture. No matter how technologically and economically progressed other countries are, our culture, our heritage is something that really sets us apart from rest of the world, and that is something that we really need to take ownership of. Thank you for watching us. Hope to see you in the next episode.